Oh, that's great. So you're teasing us now. Hopefully, what I like to see is that you guys keep on making it better and better. And this is a huge upgrade because that is so quick.
It is amazingly quick.
Hey everyone, it's Dave Bumble coming to you from Cisco Live, back with the amazing Ralph. Ralph, great to have you back.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me. Really a pleasure to be here again.
So CML version 2.7 is coming very soon, hopefully at the time of this recording.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
What are some of the updates?
So the big thing within CML 2.7 is really the use of IOL inside of CML. So an IOL is a really super lightweight way to run routers and switches inside of CML. So it's not using a virtual machine. It's actually using just a single process that runs inside of a sort of a container thing inside of Linux. So it is really a fraction of the CPU, a fraction of the memory that a traditional VM would use. It comes up really super fast, and it's like overall a much better experience if you run this on a laptop.
Yeah, because the problems with iOS V, it's been like crazy amount of resources, slow to boot up, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's somewhat in between. We still have these really super huge, like, Catalyst 9000 or whatever images. They are really like the big things that use 16 gigabytes of memory and whatnot for one node. But IOL is more like for, CCNA kind of, CCNP kind of study things where you do not have these resources that like terabytes of memory. You want to run this on a laptop. You want to run like a decent topology, a decent performance. And that's what IOL gives you. And we are now the first, we have now the permission to actually include these things for the first time with our product. So you get this entire thing like batteries included. So
I mean, that's fantastic because I know a lot of people have been asking for this for a long time. IOU is like, for years, people wanted this in CML.
Correct.
And it's great that it's available now.
Yeah, we wanted to have this in the product for a long time. And now it's the first time that we are actually, permitted to include this into the product and ship with IOL in the product, which I think is a huge benefit to our, especially personal customers.
I mean, like you said, it's batteries included. So the advantage of this is you don't have to try and find images somewhere. It comes with CML with all the images included that you need.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you get the OVA, you install this thing in VMware Workstation, you get up and running within, let's say, 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, including like the password that you put in for the first time setup and all of these things. And when you're done with that setup, it's a step-by-step process.
Very
simple. When you're done, you're up and running. Everything is there. The images are there. You can start labbing right away. So the time to lab, that's really like super fast in my opinion.
That's brilliant. I've created other videos. If anyone's interested, I'll put them below where I show you how to install CML, but it's very, very simple.
And maybe we can talk about this as well. I mean, one other thing that is really cool about this release now is we've started with 2.6, which was the previous release. We started to support AWS.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yep.
And in AWS, the problem is that you have to run on bare metal for the virtualization features. And AWS doesn't support this nested CPU capability on regular VMs, if you will. So you have to go bare metal, which is super expensive.
Yeah.
But now with this is actually running on Azure. So you can run this on Azure.
Yep.
So this instance here is a 32 gigabyte instance with 8 CPUs, and it's like 40 cents an hour. So, and you bring it up with Terraform, we provide the tooling and the bring up once you have the images and the software uploaded to the cloud. So that's a one-time thing. And when it's uploaded to the cloud and you start the tooling, it's a matter of 7 minutes or something, depending from the Terraform deploy or Terraform apply to actually start using the product. So within 6 minutes or so, you can run this in the cloud for 40 cents an hour on a 32 gigabytes machine, which is, I think, is a nice thing, a nice alternative, especially if you don't have a powerful laptop. And if you want to do this on a, start labbing in the morning and then turn it off in the afternoon or for the night, 5 minutes, all it takes.
And you've done a whole article on Terraform, didn't you?
Right, yeah. I mean, this is using a combination of different Terraform providers. So it's kind of talking to Azure, talking to AWS, these kind of things to bring up the VM, to install the software, to do the configuration pieces. But then there is also other ways to actually use Terraform to deploy networks inside of CML. So it's kind of an onion, if you will, where you have different ways to deploy and automate your network topologies. Infrastructure as code is something I talk about, which is I'm kind of passionate about this kind of thing. So you can automate the CML instance itself. You can automate the labs inside of such a CML instance. And then you can automate the things inside of these nodes, inside of the lab, inside of the CML instance.
Great.
So it's kind of a onion thing.
Yeah. Well, that's great to talk, but I'm sure everyone's more interested in seeing a demo rather than like us just talking about it. Could you demonstrate a little
Absolutely.
bit about what it looks like?
Yeah, the bad thing about this is that, there's not really much to show, right?
So it looks the same, right?
It
UI.
looks the same. And, there's another funny story about this. So we were kind of forced to use a new version of the UI framework that we are using, to use a new version of some of the underpinnings, if you will, right? And in an ideal world, no one will even notice that we put all the work in there to do this kind of uplift from version 2 to version 3. So again, nothing much to see, but a lot of the things underneath the system have been replaced. A lot of things have been adapted to the new version. IOL is something that you can use. It's just there. It just gives you a lot of interesting benefits from a performance point of view. But from the user interface experience, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's a huge step, right?
It is.
Could you create a new topology perhaps and just drag a device in and show us how quickly it boots up?
Yeah, of course, I can, yeah. What we do is, so in here I have a couple of things already running. So what I do is I click on the add here and click on the node up here. And then you see that there is a bunch of nodes in here that are now called IOL. Actually, it's just 2. So IOL is a iOS XE based IOL instance, or iOS instance, and iOS XE 17.12. So it's quite recent. So it gives you all the latest features, not like the old or the ones that are floating out on the internet. So it's a recent iOS version, iOS XE based, and it comes as a layer 3 device, like a router. And it also comes as a switch device, IOL L2, right? So we can go in there and drop this device down here and, do something like this, and add an external connector here so that we get some external connectivity, and go in here, add a link, add this up here. Ports don't matter. We add this up here. We provide some, let's just go move this over here, provide some initial configuration to these guys just to have something in there. So Bootstrap Lab, so which puts a configuration in here, so just with a host name and some basic interface stuff. And we're good to go. So now at this point in time, we could say lab, start lab. We go into this guy, right-click, console, and it's basically booted. Same goes for this guy here, console, and it's basically booted. I mean, there's obviously no configuration, apart from that very basic configuration on here right now, but it gives you an idea how fast this is. And in terms of how much resources has been used for these, it's just 2 nodes, right? But it's extremely lightweight, and I would guess that we could easily spin up, given the license constraints, but we could easily spin up a 3-digit number of these devices on such a node or on such a computer that has 32 gigabytes of memory.
So hundreds of devices, right?
Yeah. Of course, there is the personal license restriction, but we hope that we are working on that angle as well in the future.
Oh, that's great. So you're teasing us now. Hopefully, what I like to see is that you guys keep on making it better and better. And this is a huge upgrade because that is so quick.
It is amazingly quick. And, that is something that we've heard from a lot of customers, that they want to have this lightweight kind of thing, especially for people who don't have the 64 gigabyte laptops and that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is, as I said, this is the primary feature in here. There are some other tiny things or smaller things that we've done here. So for example, there's now a way to provision a static machine ID into these VMs so that if you have a license that you have bound or that is bound to a specific machine ID in a node, that license will not be invalidated if you stop the lab, wipe the lab, and recreate the lab.
Oh, that's great.
So that is also something that customers have been asking for. There are some enhancements in terms of external connectivity, where we have now a network editor in there that you can, with that network editor, you can create additional NAT networks with new IP address ranges. You can do this thing that is known from VMware, where you have bridge networks, NAT networks, and multiple of these, and then private networks. So you can have these things defined within the cockpit configuration and use these things in a much easier way than we were able to use them before. There is also a way, which is basically shown here, for multiple configurations that can be applied to a single device. So what that means is that some of these devices, they do need, let's say, an additional file that has a serial number, like for the Catalyst 9000 things, nodes, for example. They have a serial number that needs to be unique.
Yeah.
So that serial number goes into a separate configuration file. And right now we could only provide one single configuration file, which is the startup configuration. And now with this release, we can have multiple configuration files that you can edit within the UI. So that's also a feature that has been added here. Yeah, and a few smaller things, but those are the major things that come with this release. And as I said, a lot of the things have been done under the covers, which you guys ideally do not see.
I always say this, you're always too humble about what you guys get up to, because this is a huge change, and even some of those other features are great. So I really appreciate you making these changes and making it better.
Yeah, we want to have a product that customers actually can use, that customers actually love to use, enjoy to use. And we put a lot of effort into the UI, into the user experience of this thing. And the other thing that I might want to mention is that we also are very proud about and that touches the Terraform thing from before, about the automation capabilities. That might not necessarily be something that is interesting for personal users, but it also allows personal users, if they want to dabble into automation, if they want to learn about Ansible or Terraform, to have an ideal playground to use these kind of things. So CML being built around this, REST-based API, which is our contract. REST-based API is our contract. And everything that we do, whether this is the UI or Terraform or Ansible or client library or whatever, everything binds to this API and allows us to expand the system into adjacent fields. This is the automation thing that I think we are really strong at.
That's fantastic.
One thing that I wanted to mention is this GitHub repository. So this is on Cisco DevNet.
Okay.
And on Cisco DevNet, there's this cloud-CML repository. So this is something that I've created, which includes the automation to deploy CML into the cloud. And currently this is available for AWS with the caveats that I mentioned before, but also for Azure. It's not published right now, so it's like in a branch, but I'm publishing it like in a couple of days. I think it's pretty matured right now, and I'm using this for this demo. So this actually runs in Azure, as I said before. So if you're interested in using this in Azure instead of your local laptop, then give this a go. And I'm really looking for feedback and for like customer or like your requirements. Maybe it does something that is horrible and people want it done differently. So this is the place where people can, provide feedback, raise issues, and try it out. I mean, I think it's really a good way to use CML in a cost-effective and also very performant way.
Ralph, I really appreciate what you and the team are doing. I know you guys are a small team. It's not like 100 developers working on this, but really impressed. Yeah. So for everyone who's watching, if you've got any feedback or comments for Ralph and the team, keep it technical. All the business side is someone else's responsibility, but let Ralph and the team know what you enjoy and what you want to see added to the product. Ralph, great to see you, man.
Thank you, David.